This career path didn't even cross my mind, and to be honest, I didn't even know what a foot health practitioner was or a podiatrist until I hit a point in my life where I knew that something had to change. I want to tell you how I ended up here as a self-employed foot health practitioner and why I feel grateful that I did it. I'm Jess, I'm a self-employed foot health practitioner in the UK, and this video is part of my mini-series where I'm taking you from thinking about becoming a foot health practitioner to qualifying and setting up your own foot care business. So I'm going to take you back to what led me to the point of enrolling to become a foot health practitioner. I'll take you back to when I was in my early 20s, about 22, and I needed a job. So I literally applied for any job that was advertised. I needed the money. So I applied for a job at a doctor's surgery as a receptionist. I didn't actually think I'd get the job, but I got the job. And that was where I was first introduced to working in the health sector. And when I started working there, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. This was the type of environment that I wanted to work in. Now, I was only, at the front desk. I was a receptionist at the time, but I loved the interaction between me and the patients that came in, even though I was just booking them in, but we'd had conversations too. And I knew from then that this was the type of job that I wanted, not just the reception, but the sector, the health sector. So fast forward a little bit. At that time, the doctors were retiring, the nurses were retiring, and they were looking for obviously replacements. They were getting locums in, but they wanted to train somebody up to do nursing, so to become a healthcare assistant, so be part of the nursing team. And they were going to look for somebody, and I don't remember whether they said they wanted to train somebody up or whether I put my hand up and I was like, "Hi, I'm here. Are you willing to train me to become a healthcare assistant?" Now, the great thing about working in doctor's surgery is that they really do look after their own, so they will train you up from scratch. And that is what happened. They agreed. They said to me that, the practice nurse will train me to do phlebotomy, ECGs and blood pressure. So that was my job, as well as still doing front desk and working in the office. So I used to do like chronic disease recalls and, all the administrative stuff that you do behind the scenes. So I was so excited that I was doing the clinical because, like I said, I loved that one-to-one interaction with the patients that were coming through the door. And it was at that point where I knew that this is 100% what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with people in the health sector. So I knew that practically I knew what to do, but academically and theory-wise, I knew that I needed to learn more. So I approached my practice manager and I said, I really want to do a diploma so that I could, gain more knowledge type of thing. So I got my level 3 diploma. And I just continued doing what I was always doing. I just had a little bit more knowledge and understanding of why I was doing certain things, etc., etc. So also at that time, I just felt like that time was so disruptive. So many changes were happening. The doctor's surgeries, they were starting to merge. And our practice, the one that I was working in, they decided to merge with another practice that I wasn't particularly happy with. I didn't like them. So I thought that I really liked working in this clinical setting. Let me apply for a job where I can do this full time. So I applied for a different surgery, got the job, left that other place, and I became a full-time healthcare assistant. And that was when I felt like I started to thrive. And it was such a good place for me to grow. The type of practice it was for the marginalised of society. So we'd get like loads of dependent users. We would see homeless. We would see asylum seekers, as well as loads and loads of students. So it exposed me to so much. And I felt like that was where a lot of my growth happened. But also that was where a lot of my hunger grew for more knowledge and for my skills to increase. And I really decided then that I wanted to become a nurse. The reason why is because I was doing a lot of what the nurses were doing, and the nurses were looking into doing more chronic diseases like diabetes, and they were becoming prescribers. So I started to do my research and look into as much things as possible. Now, at this time, this is like probably about 8 years later, by the way. So it's like a massive jump from when I was like 22 to then. So I was in my 30s at this time. In between that time, I was obviously continuing my development. So I'd done additional diplomas. I did a spirometry diploma. I was doing more training and compression and dressings, and I had added on more experience into my belt. So is that a saying, into my belt? Not sure, but I think you get what I'm saying. My experience and the things that I was doing was growing. I was doing more stuff. The thing is, even though I was loving my job, I loved my patients, I loved doing all the practical stuff that I was doing, the learning, I did get to a point where I felt quite undervalued, and I was doing quite a lot of stuff, but I wasn't getting job satisfaction anymore. And I just didn't really feel appreciated. And that really started making me feel quite low, quite dissatisfied in my job. I loved my patients, obviously. I loved doing what I was doing. And I felt tired. I felt like I was just chasing my tail, trying to reach a level which I could just not reach, academically. I wanted to be a nurse, and I just felt like there were so many barriers. It was a nursing diploma, and then it turned to a nursing degree, and the goalpost changed. And I just felt like I was just chasing my tail continually. So I still had this mindset of wanting to become a nurse. So I thought, well, if I did this, then maybe it would be recognised, and that would change my pay, and I'd maybe given more responsibilities. I don't know, maybe that would help me get onto the nursing diploma, because it was a diploma first, not a degree. They changed it to a degree while I was trying to get onto it. And then I found a course, because I thought, if I can't go on a nursing degree, I can still try and, up my level a little bit, and maybe that would be recognised. So I found a level 5 diploma in health in Birmingham, which was a 2-year diploma. And I did that. I finished the course, qualified as an assistant practitioner. However, the doctor's surgery didn't actually recognise it. And I felt like I was back at square one. My pay hadn't increased. Obviously, the title wasn't really recognised, because GP surgeries is not the NHS, so they don't have like the tier level type of thing. So I kind of felt quite deflated. I wanted to just give up, basically, but I knew that I just wasn't happy. It was at this time that they opened up a new out of hours, and they were calling people to work there as locums from GP surgeries. And of course I put my hand up again, and I started doing some locuming. It was at that point where I had my first taste of being independent and / self-employed. So as a locum, the money I was earning was completely different to what I was earning in a doctor's surgery for doing the same thing, if not less. And I was thinking, wow, this was my first sort of like light bulb moment of self-employed life. So I was talking with a friend of mine, and I was telling her all my woes and, feeling sorry for myself, and telling her I just feel like I just want to give up type of thing. And she said to me, Jess, you know what? I think you'll be good at this. Now, my friend, she was a foot health practitioner, and I didn't know what a foot health practitioner was at that time. I knew that she worked with feet, but I didn't know what her job title was or anything. And she took me along to a conference in Kettering at the time, and it was a foot health conference. And I felt at home because I'd been to the conference centre before when the NHS did sort of workshops and stuff. So I was very familiar with the environment, and I felt at home, and I thought, well, yeah, this, I feel like I could do this type of thing. So she told me where she trained. When I got home, I looked it up, I ordered the prospectus, and I literally booked on that course. So I paid for it, filled in the forms, whatever, paid for it, and I was on that course. So my mindset was, if I don't give this a shot, then I might regret not doing it. I would rather fail knowing that I tried than not taking any action and just being dissatisfied in my job, Now, at this time, I've been working in doctor's surgeries for over a decade, over 10 years. I think it must have been about 13 13 or 14 years that I was working in doctor's surgery. So I didn't even give myself time for my brain to talk me out of it. I knew that I just had to do it. I needed to just get out of my way and take the risk. And I'm so glad I did. I think it was the best decision I ever made, like looking back and looking at now, my life now. I mean, here I am sitting in my home studio where I do people's feet. I never in a million years would have thought that this is where I would have been, from becoming a receptionist in a doctor's surgery to having my own business and having my own home studio, as well as doing home visits in people's homes. So I kind of feel like I have, for me, the best of both worlds, which works around my family life amazingly. Looking back now, I can sort of see how it sort of, has helped me up to this point where I can work on my own terms. I can be flexible for my children. I can also see people on a one-to-one basis. I'm still caring for people. I'm still working in the health sector. So I kind of feel like, for me, this is like the dream job. And I am so, so grateful that I went for it. In the next video, I'm going to talk about whether being a self-employed foot health practitioner is still worth it, the good, the hard, and times when I actually question myself. I'll see you over there.